All right, today we're going on a bit of a different kind of journey. Not to a place you can actually find on a map, but to one that feels like it could exist right next door to our own reality. We're going to explore a subcontinent that looks familiar but is just fundamentally changed, all based on this really powerful what-if story. So let's start with a huge question. What if the world's largest democracy, a place held together by thousands of years of shared history, what if it didn't break apart in some big explosion, but just quietly decided to become two separate countries? To really wrap our heads around this, we're going to jump forward in time. So picture this. The year is 2034. It's been a whole decade since an event they now just call the Great Division, an event that completely redrew the map of South Asia. And our journey into this new world, it begins right at what used to be the geographical heart of India, this new border post near Nagpur. And the first thing you notice when you get there? It's the silence.
So what's with all that silence? Well, it's the sound of bureaucracy. And that brings us right into our first section, a line on the map. We're going to see how this massive geopolitical shift settled into a surprisingly mundane, everyday reality.
See, this isn't some tense, militarized border. It's the quiet, shuffling sound of paperwork. You've got trucks filled with onions lined up for miles, waiting to get into the new Republic of North India. In the other lane, oil tankers are waiting to cross into the Southern Federation. Drivers are just sitting there, clutching their laminated work permits. And notice the little things. On one side, a sign painted in sharp Hindi. On the other, a bright, flashing digital display in English and Tamil. And this, right here, is the key to the whole thing. The split wasn't the violent catastrophe everyone had feared for so long. The way it's described is perfect. It was like a long, exhausted sigh, like an admission that maybe, just maybe, this sprawling mansion had always been two very different houses that just happened to share a courtyard.
Okay, so let's leave the border behind and head to the new centers of power. This brings us to Section 2, two capitals, two worlds. This is a journey through two completely different ways of thinking about how to run a country.
Okay, let's really dive into this because you can tell the whole story just by looking at the buildings. The north, still run from New Delhi, has sort of wrapped itself in this heavy sandstone mantle of history. It feels like a throne room, carrying on this grand story of empires. But the south, with its administrative hubs that rotate between cities like Bangalore and Chennai, it feels like a boardroom. It's all glass and steel. It's looking outward, to global markets, to the future. And here's how that difference plays out in daily life. In the north, if you want to get something done, it's still all about who you know. You navigate the system through your connections. But in the south, it's all about what's on your phone. You navigate everything through an app.
And this is the quiet tragedy of the whole thing. I mean, on their own terms, both of these systems are actually pretty efficient. They both work. The problem, the real tragedy, is that they just don't work together anymore. But this division, it goes way beyond politics and business. It cuts into something much, much more personal. In our third section, we're going to look at faith across the border and what happens when a sacred journey suddenly requires you to get a passport. Because you see, in this whole division, there was one group that just absolutely stubbornly refused to pick a side: the gods. The sacred geography of the subcontinent, all the holy sites, they're still whole, even though the political map has been torn right in two. And look at what this does to a sacred journey. It turns it into an international travel plan. Just imagine an elderly woman from the south now needing a foreign visa just to visit the holy sites of Varanasi in the north. Or a family from the north needing a special permit to get a darshan at Tirupati in the south. A deeply personal, sacred act is now a four-step bureaucratic process. And this kind of separation doesn't just affect these big, life-changing journeys. It seeps right into your living room. Section 4, forgetting each other's punchlines. This is all about the slow, quiet drift of a culture that was once shared. You can really see this divergence in what people are watching. The cinema in the north has gone all in on these huge, high-decibel historical epics, celebrating a glorious past. Meanwhile, the south is making these gritty, grounded thrillers about technology and city life. Even humor is different. The sharp political jokes from the north just don't really land in the south anymore. And the complex, layered satire from the south feels kind of alien up north. But here's the thing. Even with this official split, that old connection, it doesn't just disappear.
People secretly stream each other's movies and shows, creating what's being called a black market of shared nostalgia. It's consumed with a sort of guilty pleasure, like looking at an old family photo after a divorce. And of course, a split like this has a massive, massive impact on the economy. So for Section 5, we're looking at the economy of estrangement, a tale of two very, very different growth stories. In this future, economists have a name for it, the Great Divergence. And the data is pretty stark. The North is still the agricultural powerhouse, its economy really tied to the land and to heavy industry. The Southern Federation, on the other hand, has become this sleek hub for services and tech, with its whole rhythm set by foreign stock markets. But all that data kind of hides a really human story, and you can see it just in the way the language has changed. An engineer from Bihar who moves to Bangalore for a tech job, well, she's not a domestic migrant anymore. Now she's an expat. She's sending money home in foreign currency and has to worry about renewing her visa. That seamless flow of people has just stopped. So all of these new rules, the new economies, the new cultures, they all lead us to our conclusion, which brings us back to a force that doesn't follow any rules at all. Section 6. The rain needs no visa. This is where the political map ends and geography begins. Because for all the new barricades and all the bureaucracy, there's one truth you just can't deny. Geography denies the politics. Rivers don't stop at checkpoints. Mountain ranges don't recognize treaties. And this whole idea is captured perfectly in this innocent but just incredibly profound question a child might ask. A kid born after the division, watching the monsoon clouds roll in, might just turn to their parents and ask, "Does the rain need a visa?" And that question just kind of hangs in the air, doesn't it? The rain, of course, doesn't need a visa. It travels from south to north, this shared memory of water that connects the entire subcontinent, completely ignoring the lines that people have drawn. Which leaves us with one last thing to think about. Maps change, but doesn't memory, like the rain, ever truly forget its path?